Hello everybody, it's ASMR Cubed here, and today we'll be talking about Dark Souls. Now, Dark Souls is a game that I never actually played before, but somebody in the comment section suggested that I do a ASMR review of the game, and oh my god, this game was ridiculously hard. I have probably spent more time dying and trying to figure out ways around monsters than actually fighting them, just because I was so bad at the dodge and move system. But it is a pretty good game, and I definitely feel like I'm gonna play the other two. But today I'm gonna give you the general plot and overview of the first one. In the beginning of the world, there was no fire, and therefore no life, except for the immortal dragons, who lived amongst the arched trees. But then suddenly fire came into the world, in a place that would be known later as only the Clin. Or Killen, I don't know how to properly say that. The Clin of the Fire, first flame. With it, 4 powerful lords came into existence. They were claimed 4 different beings: Nito, the witch of Izith, or Izalth, I'm not sure to say it, Gwen, and the furtive pygmy. The most mysterious of the 4 and the progenitor of humans. We'll go into that later. These souls gave the 4 of them great power. They became something close to deities, embodied by the new power given to them. They decided to go to war with the dragons. They raged a great battle, with Gwen leading the witches of Izith, and Nito, born without scales and therefore mortal, joined the lords and helped them to defeat his brethren, thus ushering in the Age of Fire. The Age of Fire seemed to be as good as life had ever gotten in Lordran. A long age of prosperity ensued, and other lands sprung up around the kingdom. Lord Gwyn made his home in Lando and ruled from there. After that, things started to get murky. Decades, centuries, possibly millennia have passed, and the fire of the first flame is fading. In Lordran we know, time is distorted, demons are everywhere, and every human in Lordran is slowly dying or worse, turning hollow. Many theories exist considering what happened between now, but the thrust of it is that darkness and death have nearly completely overtaken Lordran despite some desperate attempts from Gwen and the witches of Izith to preserve or rekindle the first flame. A curse of the dark sign condemned humans to an eternity of death and rebirth, but with each death they lose something of themselves and gradually become hollow, turning insane and violent. The balance of light and dark, death and life, has been disrupted by this curse, and that is where you come in. As one of the cursed undead, you've been incarcerated in the asylum with your hallowed brethren. It is not clear how long you've been there, possibly hundreds of years. You are suddenly rescued by Oscar, Knight of Astoria, who pushes a corpse down into your cell bearing a key that will secure your escape. Oscar, like you, is undead, and is close to going hollow, so he selects you to continue his pilgrimage. He tells you about the legend of the chosen undead, a tale passed down through his family. Thou who art undead art chosen, in thine exodus from the undead asylum, maketh pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. What thou reigneth of the bell awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. And with that he dies. It is up to you to inherit the quest he was unable to complete himself. Incidentally, if you come back to the undead asylum later in the game, you'll see him, but he's gone hollow and attacks you on sight. You make your way through the asylum encountering the guard, who probably finished off Oscar, the asylum demon. After 1 or 2 or 5 or 20 deaths, you manage to defeat it and escape. You are whisked away to Lordran, the land of the ancient lords, by a giant crow, and spotted at Firelink Shrine. So there, you are cursed, undead, and with a distinction, possibly the only one to have ever escaped the undead asylum, and given no more direction than ring the bells. One bell is atop the undead burg, guarded by the belfry gargoyles. Wow. The other, deep in the bowels of the earth, lies beyond Chaos Witch Quelig. After you've rung both bells and enter many more interests and horrifying things along the way, there is a bit of shock waiting for you back at Firelink. Kingseeker Frempt, a primordial serpent who has presumably been around since before the Age of Fire, attempts to offer you more guidance. Seek in Orlando. Find a great powerful artifact called the Lord's Vessel, and succeed Lord Gwen as the next Great Lord. He doesn't tell you what this actually means, of course. You'll have to find out until the end. Once you return with the Lord Vessel after suffering through Sin's Fortress, and Orstein's, and Bloody Smog, he tells you to fill it with the power of souls to unlock the way to Gwen's resting place. From there, you head off to find and defeat the Witch of Izeth, Grave Lord Nito, and the Four Kings, and Seath the Scaleless. Oh, Seath is the dragon. By the way, the Scaleless dragon, not Nito. I got that wrong in the beginning. Feeding their souls to the Lord Vessel, eventually you gain passage to the Clin of the First Flame, where Gwen awaits you surrounded by the ashes of his army. You must fight this husk of a once proud deity who has been trapped for thousands of years in the ashes and the ashen prison, fallen from the Lord of Sunlight to the Lord of Cinder. Once he is dead, you can take his place in the kiln, lighting the bonfire and sacrificing your body and soul to prolong the Age of Fire. There's another way, though, a way that most Dark Soul players have never encountered. There's another primordial serpent whom you might meet, Darkstalker Kaith. His aims are very different from Prompt's. He wishes for you to defeat Gwen and usher in the Age of Darkness. He is also the source of most of the outset of the story. Kath points Gwen as a selfless, deluded deity who tries to subvert the course of nature by prolonging the Age of Fire. He tells you that the Age of Darkness is the new age of humanity, new age of man, and a new era. If you walk away from the bonfire in the Glyn of the first flame after feeding Gwen, Kath implores, the fire will die, and the Age of Darkness will begin, and instead of replacing Gwen, you become his Anthrasis, the Dark Lord. What happens after you either sacrifice yourself or walk away? Perhaps prolonging the Age of Fire is futile. We've already seen how far Lodrin has fallen. You've already killed most of what's left there. The whole game was structured in a way to dupe you into taking Gwen's place, but Lodrin stay in a state of suspended animation as you slowly burn in the kiln, and become the first flame. And if you walk away and become the Dark Lord, do you become the leash of humanity, shepherding its rage, desperate remnants and creatures, a kingdom of your own? Or does this end up enveloping in darkness, leaving you the Lord of Nothing? We cannot know. As with so much of Dark Souls, the beauty of ambiguity, it is the beauty of ambiguity. Or ambiguity, sorry. I'm having a hard time speaking today. The supplementary narrative running through the Artorias of the Abyss content, however, set several hundred years prior to the events of Dark Souls. Lordrin's quest sheds more light on what happened to cause the spread of darkness in Lordrin, while as the thematic connection between humans and darkness, souls, and fire. The kingdom of Udasile, which you once visited, you are sucked through a portal down in the Darkroot Basin, provides a clue to how inhabiting the Age of Darkness impacts one's quality of life. The local township inhabitants aren't exactly feeling tip-top, seduced by a serpent, probably Kath, who really does seem to get around. The inhabitants of Udasile are duped into disturbing the grave of a primeval human in search of the fourth Lord's soul. The Dark Souls claimed by the Fruit of Pygmy way back at the beginning of the storyline, when the first flame came into being. The results were very bad indeed, and ended up unleashing the Abyss. So what is the Abyss? It's the embodiment of darkness, the first of the opposite of the first opposite of the first flame. It's a formless subterranean void, but how did it come to be? It was spawned in malformed creature called Manus, the father of the Abyss, a primeval human whose remains the sorcerers of Udasile disturbed. He may or may not have once been the Fruit of Pygmy. His rage at being awakened ended up spawning the Abyss, which may be formless, but it will not stay empty forever, for long. It became kind of a dark limbo dominion for those who'd succumb to the dark. Anyone who comes into contact with the Abyss is kind of screwed. The theoretical two-headed trout spawning in the pond next to a nuclear power plant, including questionable waste disposal practices. The appearance of the Abyss causes a blight to seep into the local populace. That is why Udasile is in such dismal shape. The news of the plight of Udasile eventually reaches Gwen, the Lord, and the other lords up in Lordrin, who are already scared shitless of the precisely what Orsile's fall embodies. Dark Souls ain't no happy clappy fairy tale. The noble Ortesian became the first outsider capable of traversing the abyss through the use of an enchanted ring, but even he couldn't hold up under it indefinitely. While hunting mantis in the hopes of freeing the Princess Dusk, he and his close companion, the Grey Wool Sif, are overwhelmed. Artorias uses his cleansing great shield to create a magical barrier around Sif, sparing his young comrade, but himself becoming irreparably touched by the abyss, going mad and hunkering down in Orsile's Coliseum. That is where the chosen undead find him and put a violent end to Artis' equally violent suffering. The lesson is clear here. Even men Artis' exalted stature have reason to fear the dark. But if Princess Dusk can revive from her slumber after being rescued from Manus, maybe there's a way to retrace one steps back to the light. The broken pendant, a modest possession of Manus which sought to recover the utterancy of the Tecum's golem claw. About for his misplaced precious, is described in the game as having a distinct air consisting of both reverence and nostalgia. Maybe the broken pendant represents Manus' nostalgia for the light, a memory of warmth that is so easily forgotten in the near pitch-black chasm of the abyss. Alright guys, I thank you all for listening, and I thank you all for watching. Until next time guys, peace.